Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and welcome to my ranking of all the heroes and villains in Marvel United. There's going to be 11 videos here, and I'm going to be going from my least favorite to my favorites, but realize as I talk about the different characters in here, this of course is my opinion. I'm not saying they're the strongest or the weakest, they're just the ones I like playing the least against or playing the least with going up. This is the bottom obviously here. So let's get started with that. First we're going to take a look at my 6 lowest ranked heroes. So first we have Spider-Ham. I know everybody likes Spider-Ham and the funniness of the characters here. And he has decent stats, I guess. You can't be forced to discard your last card, which is okay. He can hit any location. If you end your turn in a villain's location, negate the next villain movement. This one I find to be so restrictive, it works against some villains possibly at some point. But there's nothing here for me that makes him stand out other than the fact that he's funny. So don't get me wrong, I might play him occasionally, and I don't think any character in this game is bad, but he is my lowest ranked one. Now I did not pick the rating of these based on how much I like the characters, otherwise Howard the Duck might have made it higher. Howard the Duck is low. He has some decent stats. They're okay. He has a lot of solo stats on his cards. He has great special powers. Do 2 damage in any location. Do 2 damage each enemy in your location, which isn't as great as it sounds because you don't often have multiple enemies that have more than 1 damage. Deal damage to a villain or henchman in your location until they have 1 health. You can't use any attack this turn. This is one of the best cards in the game. You can completely mess up a villain with this card. You have to have it at the right time, but here's why. Despite having some great special cards, I don't like the fact that all 3 of his special cards have nothing on the bottom. You draw them early, you're kind of dragging on, holding on to them, hoping you can use them for more power lately, and the fact that he has so many single cards, he's not a team player. And I want team players. You're going to notice that the people I like the best are people who work well with others, and Howard the Duck, while thematic that he doesn't work well with others, just doesn't ring with me as much because of that. Okay, now we have Moon Knight. Now Moon Knight has a great miniature in this game, but the thing with Moon Knight, I like this card here, which gives you a while for each special effect in your storyline, each of yours, which could be including this one, so it's going to be 1, 2, or 3. That's cool, especially if it's the 3rd one you play. Shuffle your hand and deck together and draw 3 cards is not bad. I mean, it keeps you alive, but I don't know. I don't get that excited about it. And hey, you can ignore damage. Other than that, he has some decent stats across the board. I mean, he's pretty good heroic level wise. But other than that, I don't know. There's just nothing about him that really gets me excited. With Scarlet Witch, none of her levels are, I mean, she's coming off obviously the popularity of the show that just happened. None of her levels, she's kind of very balanced, which is fine. I mean, it's not bad having a balanced person. This straight up 3 attack against a single enemy in an adjacent location is fine. They just have to be there, and there's nothing on the bottom. There's nothing on the bottom of 2 for cards, and you can see I'm not a big fan of that. And you can cancel damage, and someone can swap a card and with another wild. This is all useful stuff, but she doesn't feel like the powerhouse, that she is in the comics / Marvel universe. That's fine, it is what it is. She's an okay character for me. So then we have Mockingbird. Yeah. So she's good at heroics. Not amazing, but good. There's a lot of heroic symbols on her cards. Has a decent amount. I like the move heroics. That's nice. Defeating 2 thugs in her location. But she has 2 of these Spy Master cards here. The next Master Plan card can't add any thugs or people to your location. There's a few problems. That seems decent as it is, but sometimes I want them added to my location. And you have to be in the right location for that to not happen. So yes, that can be slightly useful, but sometimes I want the stuff added so that I can rescue the civilians or beat the henchmen. That's kind of, I mean, I really like the Mockingbird character in the comics, even though I'm showing you the Scarlet Witch one here. Here's Mockingbird. But I don't know. In this game, I'm just not that excited about her. And then finally in this video, we have Shang-Chi here. Now, he has 3 of the same card. I'm not a huge fan of doing this. I mean, it does make it when you draw a special, you know exactly what you're getting. But he doubles the fist on the previous hero card in the storyline, which means he could have 4 + 1, 5 fists. He could be one of the best fighters in the game. Could be, that is. Because you have to have cards to do that. He's not going to work with himself. He has a lot of cards with 1 fist, so that will double them. But how is that better than just putting the fist on the bottom? This one, I feel like some people may really like him. As a personal preference for me, he just wasn't that exciting to play. So there you go. Those are my heroes. Now let's go to my lowest ranked villains. Now, when it comes to villains, there's very few villains that I'm going to dislike. And it's weird because Baron Zemo has a lot of things I like. I like that he has all these characters that, you know, they're fun characters, and they can be defeated using heroic actions, or you can defeat them by fighting them. So that's kind of cool, right? The problem is you can't defeat any of them until you get rid of this. As long as this threat's in play, henchmen cannot take any damage. And depending on where this shows up, it can be almost game over at the beginning, like, oh, we can't get to that right away, or, you know, meanwhile you can't fight any of these people. They all have BAMs where they're doing damage to everybody. But what makes me not like Baron Zemo is he's giving out crisis tokens. Whenever he BAMs, he's going to give you a crisis token. If you add too much stuff to a location, he gives you a crisis token. And the rules are, when you have any crisis tokens, you have to cover 1 symbol on the bottom of the card that you played this turn, keeping any leftovers. So if I had 2 crisis tokens, I would have to cover both of those symbols. Oh man, that takes away from, and you're going to see this as a theme when I go through and talk about my least favorite villains to play against, is I don't like ones that detract from me. If they're hard and I have to go out of my way to beat them, but this sort of thing just I didn't find as exciting. But it's weird because I like so much about him, and I'll still play him. There's no villain that I just dislike playing against necessarily, but I don't like this crisis token thing. Next we have Proxima Midnight. Now she is so one note. She's going to increase this slaughter track here whenever she gets rid of citizens, essentially. And so if you can't add, if you have too many citizens add to a location, you increase by 1 you couldn't add. When she BAMs, she does a damage to each hero, and you discard everyone from her location, increase them by 1, plus the number of people discarded. You go here, discard all people in both adjacent locations, and increase the slaughter. So in this one, the heroes have to go around and rescue citizens. You have to. There's no other option, and I think that's kind of the one note part about her. Like, I've not even come close to beating her, because she just runs around, drops citizens around, and then kills them all, and this moves up to 12. I'm not saying she's not beatable, you know. The problem is she also comes in the Infinity Gauntlet set, and you're usually using, you know, trying to stop her before these stones run out, which makes her even more difficult, I find, because you get distracted by that. I just felt like you're rescuing citizens, and then every single one of these cards also needs heroic actions, which most of the time they do, but it just feels like when you fight here, you're just kind of on this one note thing. Rescue citizens as much as you can, and if the cards come out poorly, and, you know, she goes and discards everything in an adjacent location. She has 2 of these cards in here. This one, go to wherever there's the most of them. She has several of those, and then she's constantly adding them to the board. So, I don't know, just not a fan of her. Ebony Maw. Hey, it's another one of Thanos' henchmen here. He has the same problem I have here, where heroes with any crisis tokens must play their hero card randomly on their turn. Then you discard 1. And when he BAMs, you deal damage, take a crisis token. He has a thing where he goes around and gives you a crisis token. And here he plays cards equal to the number of crisis tokens that people have. Other than that, you know, he's doing damage. His stuff here is fairly normal. But if there's one thing that's just not fun, like I said, it's when the villain messes with what I can do. And playing cards randomly, to me, isn't fun. It doesn't feel as specific as Nemo, you know, canceling out something, but I don't know. This is the kind of one where I think maybe Ebony Maw is my least favorite in some ways, just because I don't like playing my cards face down. You know, you're randomly picking, well, not playing it face down, but randomly picking it, and that takes one of the few choices of the game away from me. So, Ebony Maw. And there you have it, folks. Those are my lowest ranked ones. But again, remember, it's just a personal preference, things that I don't mind playing with. And I'll still play with pretty much anything at any given point. These are the sets that these come from, the ones that we talked about today. And, well, we got more of these, 10 more videos here as we just get better and better. I'll see you next time. I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching me ranking Marvel United.